Hello, welcome back. It's another episode of your favourite podcast. It's a Talking Bollocks Bollocast. Welcome one, welcome all. I am your host, Howard H. Smith. Yes, he of Acid Rain, who've just released a new album. Yeah, just the other day. And to a person listening to it in the future, this is around late September in 2019? 2019? It's not 2019, is it? Okay, I think I'm there. So, there you go. Back in these days, we didn't even know how to say the numbers of years that we are actually living in. When I say we, I of course mean me, the magical dickhead that hosts this mess that is Talking Bollocks. So, yes, I sing in Acid Rain. I do stand-up comedy as Keith Platt, professional Yorkshireman. I do this podcast. You can find Talking Bollocks and also social media, sometimes spelt with a Z on the end. Do join the Twitter fun. And also Acid Rain, you can find us everywhere. And Keith Platt, you can find everywhere. So, let's get straight into topics of what has been happening in the world of metal since we last spoke. Well, funnily enough, I mentioned join the fun on Twitter. Yes, well, this month, on the 15th of September, for somebody, it wasn't fun. That somebody was Steve Hammon, spelt H-A-M-O-N. Steve Hammon had this to say on Twitter. Absolutely disgusted at, and tags Acid Rain, singer's comments on his podcast about there being no more Big Four gigs because of the soon-to-be death of, at Dave Mustaine, tags him in the tweet. Shame on you, right? Now, there's a few things here. As I believe it's popular to say, there's a lot to unpack. For a start, Steve didn't tag the podcast. He tagged Acid Rain. So wanted to go for, as many followers as he could find, I would imagine. And he also tagged Dave Mustaine. Now, if he's so disgusted by this, I mean, why would you tag Dave Mustaine in that? In this, if it's so disgusting, if it's such a hideous comment, why tag Dave in it? Why would Dave want to see that? I was going to say I don't get it, but I do. Somebody wanted to have some acknowledgement from Dave Mustaine. Instead, unfortunately for Steve, he just got tweets from me, and then quite a few of you piled in as well. Now, I'm not going to have a go at Steve, because he's taken what I said out of context straight away. And as soon as you take comedy out of context, anything written down can look pretty fucking horrendous. That was a joke. I did say I was joking and apologised for it straight afterwards. But that we then got into the whole, I said, look, don't try and make out I was serious. So then we got into the, cancer is a suitable topic for comedy, is it? Well, yeah. There's loads of comedians who do bits on cancer. There's loads of comedians who've had cancer who do bits on cancer. There's actually 2 doctors who do stand-up shows, and nearly their entire set is about cancer. Now, the thing is that it's quite obvious to me that Steve is hurting. He has either lost somebody recently, is about to lose somebody, or is maybe even suffering himself, and so is in a very, very sensitive state of mind, a very, very sensitive place. And it would be remiss of me to lay into him for, bloody hell, it's just a joke and all the rest of it, because clearly it's close, it's hit him where he lives, and I get that. But that happens all the time in comedy. When I'm, you're doing gigs, and you might do 5 topics, and people, you get somebody who absolutely pisses himself at 4 of the topics, but then when one of the topics is close to home, I'm offended. There's no. It's like, well, hang on, you laughed at the other 4 things, and they were, equally risque, but they were okay. But as soon as it's something that you have knowledge of, or that affects you, or that's going on in your life right now, suddenly it's offensive. And ultimately, gallows humour, etc., it's been around for centuries, and all topics are open for comedy. I actually felt that Dave Mustaine could have gone his entire life without ever finding out anything I'd said. But Steve decided to rope him in, which, again, I thought was pretty disgusting. And not tagging the podcast at all, again, just smacks of trying to get as many eyes on it as possible. And it's classic kind of now, really, you know, it's classic outrage, you know, as I do believe Jamie Jaster says, I am going to give him credit, he calls it the outrage of the day. And you know, that's the outrage of today, is he was pissed off with me, but it's not to do with me, it's more to do with him. It's more to do with... So Steve, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not, because it's a disgusting podcast, or maybe you are wanting to hear what my reaction is, whatever you're going through, whoever is going through it, be it you or anyone close to you, I wish you the absolute best and a full recovery. Recovery. But humour is humour. Yeah? I mean, I might do a joke about a car crash, you know, and all of a sudden somebody's going to get offended because they were recently in a car crash. You can't do a census of an audience. Find out what's been going on in their lives and steer clear of those topics. A, that's not how comedy works. B, that's not how comedy works. Now, totally understand it was on a podcast. It was still, you know, this is still a light-hearted comedy, apart from this. It's still a light-hearted podcast, apart from this fucking bit. So there you go. I've explained myself. I've said all I need to. And, you know, Steve, I wish you well. I wish you well. Now, let's get back to me being a loudmouth twat, shouting his mouth off about stuff that is going to get him in trouble. First up, it has to be, we've got to start one place, Hetfield. Hetfield back in rehab for alcohol addiction, I think it says now, or you know, whatever it is. It's a good thing. It's a positive thing. He's gone back. He's getting help. They do say that, you know, you might not have drunk for 15, 20 years, but you're still a recovering alcoholic. Plenty of people do go back into rehab. Plenty of people have incidents where they stumble, they don't fall, but they do need to go back and get a refresher. And it's got to be done. You know, good on him. I think it's admirable. And clearly it had to be done. So for what it's worth, I wish him all the best. And for that, while we're there, I wish Dave Mustaine all the best as well. You know, I'm going back to the first bit again, aren't I? I'm repeating myself. But anyway, you know, let's just everybody be wonderful to each other all the time, okay? And good luck, James. Good luck, Dave. Both of them needing, you know, not so much luck, but more some great doctors. Cool. Okay, moving on. Whitfield Crane was once asked to join Judas Priest. What the fuck were those guys thinking? Yeah? I mean, you are kidding me. Whitfield Crane of Ugly Kid Joe in Judas Priest. Let's just think about that for a minute. Rob Halford, the metal god, being replaced by Whitfield Crane. I mean, it's not like Whitfield Crane of, you know, now. It would have been the Whitfield Crane. It was the Whitfield Crane of a good few years ago. But for a start, the name. You can't have somebody in Judas Priest called Whitfield Crane. It's just not happening. It's really not. I mean, it sounds like some ancient wizard or something, or some old hermit who lives on a hill and nobody dare go up to his house. Oh, that's Whitfield Crane's house. Yes, he lives there. It's all boarded up, and you're never to go there. He's an evil man, and if you wander into his garden, he'll hit you in the face with a massive leek. I mean, what the fuck? Whitfield Crane in Judas Priest. Come on. And then we got Vinnie Vincent, right? Just throwing it out there that if I was to go join up with Kiss again, it'd have to be, the money would have to be right, because I wouldn't do it for Tommy Thayer's salary. And it's like, oh my God, this is such a lack of class. It's like, it really is just a fucking money-making machine, isn't it? Dear me. I mean, just open auditions for money-hungry wankers, and, Let's set up another lineup. Let's have another Kiss. Oh God, what am I saying? What am I talking about? What the fuck is wrong with me? That's a terrible idea. Sorry, listeners. I do apologise for that. That's possibly one of the worst ideas I've ever had. That really is. So I might have to pause, by the way, because I'm expecting a call from our agent, Acid Rain's live agent. So if that happens, then I will just put you guys on pause. Not for long, don't worry. Don't worry, I'll be right back. In fact, due to the magic of the pause button, you won't even notice. You know, that's kind of how it works. So, what else has been going on? Tool. Yes, Tool. And that their album. Fear Inoculum. I made a note at the beginning of the month when I got it, saying to talk about it on the podcast, and I made a note saying, if I don't get into this album, it's kind of my fault, because it's going to need more time and concentration than I can give it. You know, I really need to sit down and live with it. And then I've made another note further on down going, oh, I'm starting to get into it. And then I've made another note further down going, yeah, actually, I'm really digging it. I've got to say, I do like it. Those songs are fucking long though, aren't they? Really? Aren't they? They are long ass songs. I mean, I know they've been going down that route for a long time now, but, you know, I do miss the days of... Anima, whatever, however you want to pronounce it, where, you know, you just had like a 6 or 7. I miss those days. I miss Tool songs being sensible length, but I have to point out, if it's your first album in 14 years, one of the songs being a drum solo, that is just fucking disrespectful. That is pissing in my face, in my ears actually. That is pissing in my ears. It's just... I'm not having that. It's just disrespectful. 14 years, a drum solo with some sound effects. Go fuck yourself. Do not pull that shit off on me. That is just bang out of order. And I think for that very reason, I'm not going to be buying a physical copy of it because, one song, one whole 6 minutes, a bloody drum solo. No, I'm not having it. I am not. I'm making a stand. I'm making a stand. Check out me, all entitled. Hey, see what I've done there? Yes, the new Acid Rain album, The Age of Entitlement, is out after a 29-year gap. And that's been a complete headfuck, to be honest with you guys. In the best kind of headfuck way. It's been a good skull fucking. Skull fucking. How do you get skull fucked? Is it in the eyes? Do you fuck the eye socket? Do you get fuck in the ear? Or is it just a good old-fashioned getting fucked in the mouth? I don't know. Skull fucking. I might have to look. Do you know what? I'm going to... Yeah, fuck, you know what's coming, don't you? Just give me a second. I'm just going to do some research. Oh, this is an internet hole I did not want to fall down. Fucking hell. Right, here we go. Wiktionary. Skullfuck, noun. An instance of skullfucking. Skullfuck, verb, to actively penetrate someone's mouth, to have vigorous oral sex. And then skullfuck, verb, to penetrate someone's eye socket. Are you what? What? Who is doing that? That cannot be happening. And there's like alternative searches for skullfuck. Synonyms, anagrams, quotes containing the term skullfuck, phrases containing the term skullfuck, poems containing the term skullfuck. Fucking hell. That was the Wiktionary link. What is skullfuck? Definition from Kinkley. This is kinkley.com. Skullfuck refers to vigorous oral sex. It comes about in an extreme state of excitement. Oral sex can be very intense. Oh, fucking advert appears. Oral sex can be so intense that some people go crazy. They literally want to fuck the giver's mouth. A skullfuck can happen to anyone, regardless of gender. The key to getting a skullfuck is to know how to give good head. As the term implies, a skullfuck can be brutal, especially when... we've done enough now. We've done enough, but there's no mention of fucking eye sockets in that one, so I prefer that definition. Sorry, disappeared down... I guess this is why I'm single. I think this has got... This has got quite a lot to do with why I'm single. I'm just going to have to pause you again, hang on. I'd forgotten to wind the cable around the mic, and if I don't do that at some point, I'll pull it out, and it will screw up the fucking podcast. Yeah, so there you go. Fancy that, eh? Me, single. This, me, I'm a fucking catch. But yeah, so anyway, that's classic ADHD right there, guys. That really is. And the phone's ringing, so I'm going to have to go and get that. Be back in a minute. And it wasn't Acid Rain's agent after all. It was some fucking twat wanting to know if I'd just been in an accident. And I said, if you call me again, you'll be in a fucking accident. Okay? Fucking, I'm a wit, right? Anyway, yeah, wit. Look, guys, it's time for an interview. So let's do it, shall we? Let's goddamn do it. So first up is, well, ex-Overkill and Battlezone drummer Paul Di'Anno's Battlezone and Overkill drummer Sid Falck. Sid has not done an interview for quite some time that I'm aware of, and we end up having just an awesome chat. Such a lovely guy. In this conversation, you will hear us. I was trying to get him to open his Twitter account again, but he wasn't sure how to, or if he'd be able to. And then, literally a few days ago, I'd already followed him on Twitter, and a few days ago, he followed me back. So Sid is back, despite what happens in this interview. Sid is back on Twitter. So yeah, give him a follow. He's at Sid Falck. That's SID, Sid Falck, FALCK, all in lowercase, at Sid Falck. This is such a cool interview. I really enjoyed it. What a lovely guy. And he's obviously had quite a fair amount of bad luck in his life, but he's still got such a wonderful outlook on life. And I found it really inspiring talking to him. I really did. And I hope you find it inspiring to listen to. Here's me and Sid having a chat a couple of weeks ago.
Hello?
Hello, Sid.
Yeah.
How are you?
How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm just getting old and going deaf.
Okay, well, I'll make sure I speak up then.
Yeah, I was trying to put my phone headset on. I'm like, no, fuck that. I can still hear a little bit.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm recording straight off the bat, so we're right into it. And it seems like I got you at an ideal time. You said you were just finishing a mix.
Well, I was working on one. I'm currently working with a I don't know what you call it. It's not really a metal band. More like a hard rock, 80s hard rock band, not hair metal or anything, but more like in maybe like the Cult or that type of music. So we're just finishing up a single, and then we're gonna start pre-production on the album. I think September 30th.
Oh, that's awesome! So you're just working? You're just on the production side of this?
Yeah. I'm not playing. I'm more or less lost use of my legs over the last 4 years. 3 years, I guess. 3 years.
Is that complete use?
Say what?
Is that sort of complete use of your legs?
Not complete. No, I just I got nerve. That's a fucking long story. Boring. But it boiled down to I had some blown discs in my low back, and they went and fixed it. In the first surgery, my spinal cord lining tore, so they went and repaired that. And since then, I've had 2 full fusions, so I'm fused like with 3 levels. But it's damaged the nerve that goes down to my feet and my lower legs. So medically, they call it drop foot. But it essentially is when you went to take a step, instead of the toes lift up, they sometimes drag, because the nerves don't tell your foot to lift.
Yeah.
So that means like playing drums can be a problem because my feet doesn't always do what my brain tells them to, because they're not getting the right signals.
Right. I mean,
well,
I tell you what, man, I've played with a few drummers like that didn't have anything wrong with them.
Yeah.
So at least you're genuine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I really haven't sat down and tried to play, just because it's like, I think it's mostly you. At least for me, it's a thing that you wanna think in your brain that you could still do it to a certain extent. You don't want to sit down and prove yourself wrong. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. You don't, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of want to be delusional. You want to keep your delusions. Hey, I could still do it if I really wanted to, but you don't really want to find out that might not be the case.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, absolutely. When you've been playing that long, why put yourself through the experience of sitting behind a kit and not being able to pull off what you've always been able to pull off? Because that's just gonna break you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's in real life, it's depressing to all of a sudden find out, that, well, actually it happened over in the first back surgery was in August of 2016, and by December I had to walk with a cane. So it happened like in 3-4 months. So that was quite a dramatic change. And, I was working on at the time it happened. I was working on my own project called Infectus 13, and we're had taken some breaks. It's been going on forever. I mean, I know you're you've been there trying to put things back together after being out of it for a while. So
absolutely, yeah.
It can be, yeah. I mean, I know it took you a couple of years to get even figured out how do you start back up, and I was the same, and it just took forever. But we're kind of where we were starting to move on the writing and everything, and then this shit happened, and it was really depressing. So I really don't want to get more depressed by not being able to be delusional, thinking I could still play to a, I might not be able to play, 300 beats per minute double kick, but I could certainly still play 160.
That's totally understandable, though. I absolutely know where you're coming from. Yeah, like you say, why do that to yourself? And by the sounds of it, you're still, you're still remaining involved in the industry as well and helping other people.
Yeah, I really, it's really, and again, you know this, it's really hard to walk away from. I tried it, and it after a while, you might be okay with telling people, nah, maybe someday, but not really, but after a while it does start pulling, because I think it's for me at least, I think it was kind of an ego thing, not a fame thing, but an ego thing, in the sense that, you hear all this new crap that's been coming out in the last, I call it crap, that has been in the world of metal and thrash metal, or whatever you want to call it. You hear it and you go, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Why don't they write good shit anymore? Why they don't even fucking play this shit right? So your ego start playing. Well, my ego started playing. You know what? I could fucking do that 10 times better.
Yeah.
And then you start convincing yourself that you really could, and at that point you're like, okay, let's do it. So I think it at least for me, and probably for many other people, it was an ego thing. Just and let me get back out there and show these fucking whippersnappers how it's done. how we used to do it in the old days. I mean, you were right there in the old days, right around the same time. I started out in London in 84 to 86. So you started out right around the same time, I believe.
Yeah, 85. But and when were you in? Just to go back into the deep depth and the deep past. When were you? What years were you in Battlezone?
That was from 84 to 86.
Oh man, I was really hoping that you managed to make it into 87, because then we would have had a definite link, because the management company, the management arm of Power Station Records, was called Song Management, and Song Management managed Acid Rain for the sort of first kind of third of our career until 1991. So we'd have effectively been on, kind of inverted commas, the same label. But what brought you over here? Was it the Battlezone opportunity, or were you over here anyway? How did that work out? I
just. Well, I guess I'm originally from Denmark, and then Denmark is a tiny fucking little country. You know, you get an education, whether it's blue collar or white collar, and you go to work. You know, you could try. I mean, you have a hit record yourself. I think 5,000 copies. You get gold. I'm like, there's not a lot of incentive. If you want to play music, and I wanted to play music, that was very clear, because that was, you know, it's not the old. I don't know if it was. It was the only thing that came easy to me, and that sounds a little arrogant, but it really, you know, it kind of did come easy to me, and I enjoyed it. So I realized, you want to do this, Denmark is not the place to be. My brother had moved to London some years earlier, and he actually had, at that time, he had a hi-fi speaker company called SD Acoustics out of Surbiton, London. Surbiton by London, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it's not, I just basically fucking, after I was done with my military service, I just packed a suitcase and shipped my drums over and just started looking in the back of, what was it, NME and Melody Maker and all those magazines in London, and I put an ad in, and a fellow named John Hurley called me like a couple of days later and said, hey, you wanna? I can't tell you who we're working with, but we're working with somebody who's quite a name, and do you want to come up and just see how we all get along? And so I did that. I can't remember where the hell we went. Some kind of studio in East London, and we just fooled around, played some shit. They played some riffs, and and he said, hey man, this really works. We had a good time and all that. And so basically what we're doing, this is Paul Di'Anno's new band. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, you know him? Yeah, of course I know him. I said, you like him? I mean, I never met him. I'm more of a Bruce Dickinson fan. But regardless, you know, it also we started that up, but we fumbled around for a couple of years. Eventually, we ended up making the Fighting Back album, the first Battlezone album, and there was a lot of friction, because I think there was a lot of friction because there was a lot of egos, myself included, and also because we didn't take it serious. You know, it was 24/7 party time. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that and then hope to get something good out of it in the end. So, you know, we did some shows. We did like in Europe, not much, but we did like I think the second Dynamo Open Air Festival, and then we went over in the fall of '86. We went on an American tour, and I had told my management, the head of that tour, that I was splitting. I can't do this no more. And they said, well, you're booked for a U.S. tour. Finish the tour, and then you can leave type of deal. And I was like, okay. So that was really how I came to end up in America. I just said, well, I became really, really good friends with the American tour manager. And he said, hey, dude, if you want to stay, come live with me upstate New York. I said, we'll figure something out. And I was like, okay. And it just so happened that he was also Overkill's tour manager and light guy. And so I stayed behind, and, you know, Overkill was out finishing up a tour for, what was that, Taking Over album in '86, '87. And
yeah.
There were,
that's spot on.
And I did, at that part, Rat had split, and they were using a guy named Mark Archibald, who was really just a stand-in drummer, and they had already decided that he was a really good standing drummer, but his personality did not work in the band because he was a major pothead, and that was certain members of Overkill couldn't stand potheads. So
yeah,
you know, they knew that would never be. He was basically not invited, not because of his ability to play, but just really it was a personality thing. And then, you know, Rick had been tour manager had been telling them, hey dude, you need to try this guy. You need to see this guy. And so I went, I don't remember when it was, I think it was in like November or something of '87. I went down to New York City and did an audition. We got along really well. And they asked me, said, hey, you want to come play with us? And so that was kind of it, you know. It was a big I'll tell you the biggest thing that for me was like I don't know if it was a shock of something I wasn't used to necessarily, and it sounds pretty pathetic, but I was not. They were so professional. You know what I'm saying? It was like they're meticulous. We practice. And I'm like, give me the riff when I can kind of make it through 50% of the song. I'm ready to go out and play. I don't want to sit here and fucking play to a dead room. I mean, come on.
Right.
They were like the direct opposite. You know, we play this so we can fucking. It's like I very much think it's an American way of looking at things versus a European way. Not that us Europeans are not dedicated. We just, I think we're less businesslike. We're a lot more just.
Yeah.
This is got to be fun and cool, you know. If not, it's not worth doing. Whereas in America, but it's only fun and cool once it's a good business. So that was a fucking shock for me. I was like, holy shit, they actually want me to practice? So, yeah, that's kind of like my background, how I ended up with piano, and then for a couple of years, and then and then split from that and ended up here in America, and I've been here ever since.
So what led to the split with Overkill? Was it too professional too much of the time, or did you just kind of grow apart, or what happened?
Oh man, it's.
Can you even remember?
Yeah. I can remember. It was something that just it grew. That things was going well. It was definitely not. I quite quickly learned to appreciate that the whole this is not just something you do anymore. This is your job. This is kind of like. This is for real. Playing drums is no longer just something that's cool. And sometimes you can get some, if you don't get paid, you get some beer. You know what I'm saying? So I really learned to appreciate that fact. So that was never a problem. I mean, I never liked to, I didn't like to rehearse. They all knew that, and that was fine. But it was just after the years of decay, when I guess you would say there was a falling out between the two main members of the band, which was, well, I shouldn't say two, mostly Dee Dee and Bobby Gustafson wasn't getting along that well. And they had just started to come together after we took a break from the years tour. That was quite a long tour and a shitload of shows. So I think we took like a couple of months off, and I had knee surgery in the meantime, so Bobby and Dee Dee had gotten together in a studio in Brooklyn. Was going to start Ride, and I wasn't there. So I mean, obviously, I'm still friends with both Dee Dee and Bobby Gustafson. So shit happened, and it kind of became like, okay, well, the band will continue without Gustafson. After that, it became, I don't know how to say it, because it's not really negative, but it's. Obviously, the dynamics in the band change when something like that happens. Because before we were a four-piece, I was the new guy in the three, the Bobby Gustafson, Blitz, and Dee Dee were like the old guard. They were the, Dee Dee was the founder of the band. Blitz had been there almost from the beginning, and Bobby had come in after they did it. I don't know what they did, not a video, but like a demo or something with Dan Spitz and somebody else. Something Mediola or something, and but Bobby had been there since before they got signed to Megaforce Atlantic. So when one of the three main guys leaves, he also happens to be a big part of the writing team. The dynamics really change.
Yeah,
and I didn't agree with a lot of those dynamics. There's things that it just started to become really contentious. Both, Bobby and Dee Dee changed their attitude a little bit, because all of a sudden it was like, holy shit, our business could potentially fall apart. Some people don't believe we can pull it up without Gustafson. This is our life, and they had put their whole life in it up until that point. So I understand that, why you kind of, you circle the wagons and kind of, we're the two main guys. We need to really, get our heads together, and now it's us two against the world, and I kind of felt like, but I'm here too.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, I've done a couple of albums with you, and they, you know, one has done better than the other, and so far, I mean, you know, I'm part of the equation too, and I didn't feel that was really, you know, I didn't feel that was really the case. That it almost seems like I became even less of a part of whatever. So, you know, obviously that I had an attitude, which I'm gonna be first to. It does not take very much for me to get an attitude about things. You know, I don't know if it's a drummer thing or a Danish thing or whatever, but you know, so it just things started becoming contentious between, you know. Didi is very quiet, even though he has definite opinions. He's typically very quiet. If he can't be bothered with arguing with people, he'll just shake his head and walk away. Blitz and I are both very high strung, so a lot of the contention or contentious subjects were between me and Blitz, and we started arguing, which was really horrible because we had been really good friends. As a matter of fact, when I very first joined the band, you know, he was there helping me out with everything. Just, you know, need anything. So that it kind of just became really uncomfortable, and I just decided, you know what, this ain't working. I'm not having fun. This is not, you know, even if it's a business, you can go. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep your sanity, or you want to just keep getting a paycheck that you don't like making anymore? So I left about a third of the way into the Horoscope World Tour after the album had been released, and you know, it was, in retrospect, I did it in a very douchebaggy way because I really didn't give. I gave them, you know, 3 weeks notice. Simply, you know, first show on the European leg, I was just like, hey, after Europe, I'm done. I'm gone. And they're like, holy shit, we have contracts that, you know, blah 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 blah. I said, okay, you have me till the end of March, and whatever contracts you have that needs to be fulfilled, they got to have in between we get back from Europe, which was the end of February, and it has to. I'm sure you have done the same deals with Acid Rain for like merchandise and publishing advancements and shit. Yeah. But especially merchandise is the big one. Is you have to play X amount of shows in this time frame or within this period in order to fulfill your contract, or you're going to have to pay the advance back. It's like, say, unless there's, you know, an act of God, like, you know, one of your members get killed or whatever. But so the band is obligated to play X amount of headline shows in a 4-month period, or 3 months, I can't remember the period. So we were short. So essentially, they very quickly managed to set up a tour that was like, I can't fucking remember. It was really grueling, and it was something like 23 or 24 shows in 30 days.
Wow.
It was just a fucking, it was, you know, not just physically exhausting, but it was mentally exhausting because now everybody was kind of walking around on eggshells. We're pretending to get along just so we can get this finished in a proper manner, but I've already left the band and they're already pissed at me for leaving them high and dry, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm going to be the first to fucking admit that. It's oh man, that was a douchebag thing to do, but I was just no, fuck you, man. If you don't, I felt slighted, whether that's real or not. You know, it doesn't matter. It's like I have one of my favorite sayings, and I'm by no means a philosopher, but one of my favorite sayings has always been, each person's reality is, or each person's perception is that person's reality. My perception were I was being slighted.
Yeah.
And so that gave me an attitude. I'm like, fuck you, then you don't need me then, do you? Well, let's see. And of course, that's, you know, nothing in life is black and white.
Yeah.
So if you don't sit down, and you've been there, if you don't sit down and say, okay, we got to have a conversation for X amount of time, and we're not allowed to get pissed at each other. We got to figure this out. What is the actual problem? Why are you feeling this way? Why are you being this way? And you tell me, and I can't get pissed at you regardless of what you say. But you know what? Bands never do that. You just get pissed and walk out the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or not pissed in the English sense. Well, yeah, maybe too.
No, I know what you mean though. It's like I remember our first manager. In fact, I don't know if you know him actually, Kevin Nixon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kevin was our first manager, and he said to me, sometimes it's better when the pots and pans fly. You don't worry about arguing. Do argue. Get it out there so everybody knows how everybody feels, because that's the only way you can find a solution.
Sometimes it's true, yes, but have you noticed in a lot of arguments, there's very few valid points being brought up. It's really just you end up yelling insults at each other. You're not actually arguing. You're not arguing about the actual reason why you're arguing. You're just arguing and calling each other names.
Yeah, you're not debating. You're not debating the facts of the situation. You're letting off steam at each other.
Exactly, and that's where there's a final. I agree. It really you're never gonna move on if you don't get shit figured out. I mean, if there's a problem and you just, if you don't address that problem, you're not going to be able to move on. You're eventually something is going to happen, and somebody's going to just say fuck it. You know what I mean? And that's where I said there's, to me, the biggest way of sorting it out is sit down and say, okay, we're going to tell each other why we are the way we are. And when you talk to me, I can't. If you say something I feel is insulting, I can't get pissed at you, because your perception of me is that I did something that insulted you. So, and vice versa. But I think especially in the environment of a band, you never do that. You just fucking start yelling at each other. Or worse, actually even yelling at each other, calling each other names can be okay to a certain extent. But half the time you don't even bother. You just turn around and walk away. At least, in essence, that's what I did. And that's, something I didn't talk to anybody I talked to Didi a couple of times just around a year after I left. He had his first daughter or so, and but I really didn't talk to anybody in the band for 15 years, and it was just that's fucking stupid. What a waste of time. You know what I'm saying? Over something that may or may not even have been something the other guys was aware of.
Yeah. I'm
not going to tell you that Blitz and Didi. Actually, I'm going to tell you I'm pretty confident that Blitz and Didi did not slight me on purpose. I don't think they ever. I've never had this discussion with everybody. Still assumes that me and Blitz hated each other, and I left because A, me and Blitz hated each other. B, I left because of money. Or C, I left because of my health. And none of those are correct. The only thing that's correct is, yes, me and Blitz did the arguing because we were the two that don't hold back our emotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Didi, whatever, fuck. Be pissed if you want to. I don't care. I can't be bothered. Didi just is he's laid back, but he's very involved, but he just, to him, arguing is petty, and I can't be bothered with petty shit.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, so we didn't talk for like 15 fucking years, and actually we didn't see each other again until they had recorded an album called Immortalis, I think it was called, and they were doing a one-off warm-up show in upstate New York in a town called Elmira. And it just so happened that our old tour manager, Rick, that I talked about before, he lived in Elmira, and I was visiting him. He and I have become closer than we are with our real families. But I was at him. He said, "Hey, you know who's going to be here tomorrow?" I'm like, no, how would I know them? Somebody coming to Elmira, this 3-cow, 2-sheep town, man. And he said, Overkill's going to play here tomorrow. I'm like, oh, and you're telling me this why? No, because they're doing a warm-up show. I think we should go. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. If I show up, I have no idea. It could be, it has the potential to get really uppy really quick. And, so he said, well, if shit gets bad, we just walk. We leave. So we did, and first of all, they didn't recognize me because obviously my appearance had changed quite a bit. I didn't have hair down to my ass, and I didn't look respectable. I don't think I ever have looked respectable, but they actually didn't recognize me. I mean, we went on the bus first, and of course, Dee Dee was sitting in the front lounge of the bus, and Rick walks in first, and I'm right behind it, and he jumps up, hugs Rick, and hey, buddy, how is that? And Dee Dee says, hey, Rick says, hey, see who I brought? And apparently, I look like one of their old roadies from that town, so that's what he thought. He thought I was a former roadie named Jim. He said, hey, Jim. And I'm like, I look at Rick, and we're sitting there, and he's sitting across from us. And I said, did he just call me Rick? Did he just call me Jim? And Dee Dee goes, yeah, man, I was not one of the guys who called you duh, because I guess that guy was a little bit slow.
Right.
And Rick looks at Dee Dee and says, it's fucking Sid, you moron. And Dee Dee just completely turns, fire engine red, and goes, holy shit. So it was that much of a surprise to where he actually had to be told who I was. And of course, Hawks galore, all that shit.
Yeah.
A little later, Blitz comes in and he starts introducing himself to me, and Dee Dee just starts rolling, fucking laughing. And Blitz, hey, Bobby Blitz, nice to meet you. Who are you? And Dee Dee is just fucking laughing his ass off. And Bobby turns around and goes, what's wrong? It's fucking Sid. And Blitz just goes, oh. And I'm like, okay, here it comes. Let's see. And in 3 seconds of staring at each other, and the past was gone. We had a little quick talk, just basically, hey, we wasted a bunch of years. Let's not do that again. So now, actually, we're quite close. Talk a lot, text a lot, message a lot, and all this, that, and the other thing. And so, yeah. But, yeah, there was a period of... We still haven't sat down and just, why did you leave? Because, at this point, does it matter?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody... It's natural for people who... First of all, I don't understand why anybody want to talk to me, because I don't have fucking anything interesting to say. But second of all, when I do talk to people, like in interviews or whatever, it's like, they want to, why did you leave? They're like, why does it matter? It was whatever, 20 years ago. Why does it matter to this day? Because most people, I think they're really just looking for dirt. So, you can get something public fighting or arguing going. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case. I mean,
people will do anything. People will do anything to try and get clickbait and get a headline these days. But I knew things must have been good between you guys, because Chris, who put me in touch with you, obviously knows Overkill very well, and I've had Bobby on the show, I think 3 times. So I knew everything must have been good with you guys. But I guess it's kind of like it's sort of a question I kind of have to ask, which is unfortunate. But believe it or not, there will be people listening to this who won't have heard any of this before, and will be genuinely interested, because Overkill is as big a deal now as they've ever been, and you're part of that history.
Yeah, and I totally get it, and as I say, I think the interest for that particular point in time is still there because of the way it went down. You know what I'm saying? It was very obvious that this was not, Sid's going to do the last album, the last tour, and then he's going to... No, it was just all of a sudden I was gone, And so obviously people are like, what the fuck happened? I get that.
Right, yeah.
Totally. I totally get that. And it's just, everybody... It's not even something I've sat down and talked to Blitz and Dee Dee about. We never done that. So I'm kind of like, I honestly always just say I wasn't having fun, which is the truth.
Yeah.
I've never really gotten into details like I just did now before. And it's because it's really a private, if you can't, man, how is it, you can't want to be in the public eye and stay, and at the same time have everything be private. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, and whether or not you and I or everybody else became musicians because we wanted to be famous is that you know, of course we did, to at least to an extent. That we wouldn't have gone through all the shit we did. But at the same time, then we had those ambitions, but then at the same, we wanted, you know, oh man, I want to be on an album cover, I want to be in a fucking rock magazine, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then still think, well, don't ask me anything, you know. And I'm really bad about that. I really try to keep very private for a lot of silly reasons. And so I normally just get out of that question. It's quite simple. It's nothing what was in the news at the time, you know, every magazine, everything, you know, rumors and all this. You know, I just wasn't having fun, and I'm not going to do something for money when I'm not having fun at it. And that's how I've gotten out of it for 20 years, answering it. Because it's boiled down to just one paragraph, and it's still the truth. It wasn't fun because there was a really bad vibe going on. It was very contentious. Everybody was like, it was like a powder keg just waiting to blow up. It was just, you know, one beer, one drink too many, and
yeah.
You know, any moment it could, you know how it is.
Oh man, I have been there. I've been there when the extra drink has been had and the power keg goes up in your face, and it ain't pretty.
No, it's not. It's not pretty, and normally when it happens that way, there's no going back later. It's going done.
Things get said and they can't be taken back. People remember them the following morning, and you can't all just shake hands and say, "Oh well, you know, it was the drink talking." No, it wasn't.
And I mean that you know, so it's just. You still there?
Yeah, I am. Are you getting messages your end?
I don't know. My phone started beeping. I thought it'd hang up. It might be called waiting.
I did the same thing. I heard a beep and I thought, oh right, you might have gone, and you must have thought I might have gone. So we both just sat here saying nothing.
Yeah, because I've tried this. I've never tried phone over WhatsApp. I've tried it over other messaging apps, and it worked really horrible because it kept dropping the connection and whatnot.
Yeah.
And actually, the only thing I've ever gone besides messaging over WhatsApp is I've done video chat with Blitz over it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's different. I didn't know if that was, you know, they've probably come a long way since when they first started having these fucking apps, you know.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's WhatsApp is definitely one of the better ones, without a doubt. Yeah. And well, the connection's holding up so far, that's for sure.
Yeah, and actually I'm surprised because I was like, oh man, we're gonna be sitting fucking redialing like every 3 minutes.
I do a lot of this, and I was really pleased when you gave me a number so we could do WhatsApp because it is pretty reliable. So I've got to ask: are we ever going to get any? Are we going to get any Infectious 13 releases, or was it just demos? Is there any plans to get that stuff out?
Well, it boils back down to what I was we started off talking about, my feet and my legs. But what the deal is now is we got, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 songs that had, about 7 or 8 songs maybe, that had the drum tracks recorded. And we were starting writing more songs. The guitar player at the time, Steve Falck, and I, and we'd done some really cool stuff, and then the shit with my back surgery happened, and it's kind of really hard to get. I mean, the only one that still, at least on paper, is part of Infectious 13 besides myself is Bob Barnack, my singer, who's also a very close friend, and it's really hard to get people wanting to be involved because. Are you going to play? Well, no, I really can't play right now. But why are we doing it then?
Right, yeah.
Well, because we got a shitload of stuff sitting in the computer waiting to have bass guitars and vocals done, and you would have, if you don't have enough material for a full album, at least a solid EP, and get something out that we promised, that I promised people like in 2014?
Right.
Fucking 5 years ago, and we never did anything. We did two original songs. That was all we managed, and shit would. So I don't know. I just when about 6 weeks ago, Bob Barnett messaged me and said, "Hey, I know a guy he's up here in New York, and he really always wanted me to work with him, and guitar player, phenomenal kind of dimebag type of guitar player, and actually he's, besides his own stuff, he does Pantera tribute band, so you know he has to be good. And he's really wanting to do something. You email him a link to one of the songs and just tell him, hey, I'll send you the old guitars. All the guitars need to be redone. And let's see it." And it just so happened I got right when that was going on, and it seems to be just the way it works with me somehow. Every time something good is about to happen, my health takes a big shit. Like, when we were finally starting to find when things were starting to really gel good with writing in 2016, my back shit happened, and I suffered the nerve damage to my feet, and then I've had a bunch of heart problems. So and just here about 6 weeks ago, I had another heart surgery, and that was just about the time when Bob was talking to this guy. So it's really hard to get people excited when all I can say is, well, we'll try and finish the songs and see if they can be put out. And it's like, that's a lot of work for a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
because there's not, sadly, and to a very large extent, I'm the same way. But sadly, it's come to, what's in it for me? Well, isn't this about just playing some music? And what are you going to lose doing this? You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, what are you going to gain? Well, you're not going to gain shit, but what are you going to lose? But that's not how we really, no, it's a waste of my time. I'd rather focus on something I know if we get this done, we can go out and do something with. And I fully get that. But that's the problem at this point, is as far as is finding people who are willing to finish the songs with me and Bob, and who's not willing to just do one song and then say, nah, dude, this is too much work, because we're not going to do anything with it after it's done, except for, oh wow, I got my name on a recording. I'm like, well, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
What recordings are your name on right now?
Yeah.
But it's really, really hard, and I understand it. I understand it from the other side of, it's really hard to get psyched up for something and wanting to throw your whole dedication into something that really, for all intent and purposes, is over before you started at this point. So I don't know. Bob really, I would love to get it finished for obvious reasons, because I look like a schmuck, having promised people for years, and people got excited, which really shocked me. I just said it, I was going to just do it for me. It was literally, and I'd made a post about that on Facebook after I had the first 2 heart surgeries, and I've been told, hey, this you're not a healthy young man anymore. This you got some serious health problems. And I was like, okay, you know what? I don't want to remember something I did 15, 20 years ago. I want to do one last album where I'm in charge. I don't have to compromise for anything. I want it to be done my way. I want it to be a dictatorship to a certain extent, because I want everybody, but I want, in the end, it's because I want it to be done. I want the songs to be the way I think songs should be. I want the sounds to be the way I think sounds should be. I want the production to be the way I think the production should be. I don't want to have to back down just to keep peace in the room, and let in a traditional band setting, you can't have your way 100% of the time. You have to learn to compromise. You have to learn to trust that other people have opinions and their opinions are valid. And I just want I want to finish handful of whatever, shitload of whatever, album worth of songs, and I want to hold it up. This, I didn't compromise. There was no, if you hate it, I don't care. To me, this is 100% what it should be, because this is how I wanted it to be. And that was how it came about. And I actually thought I was going to have a huge backlash, but, I guess a lot of people got excited. So sitting here today, what happened? And I'm like, well, I took a big shit in public, even though they're extenuating circumstances. Essentially, that's what I did. It was like, well, why would anybody believe anything I say from here on out if it comes to music? You promised us Infectious 13. Where is it? 3 cover songs, and which was a desperation thing just to keep people up, not from losing complete interest because it was so quiet, because I couldn't come out and say, dude, I can't play anymore.
Yeah.
And my feet are gone. And that's a problem for a fucking drummer with double kicks.
yeah, ever so slightly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had been working with a friend here like last year on inventing something that would, I'm not going to say like Rick Allen, but kind of, it would have worked for me with my feet not being 100% functioning, because they don't, I don't have full control over like lifting my foot up. Once my foot is off the ground, I don't necessarily have full control over it.
Right.
So I was trying to come up with something that would make me play without having to put my foot off the ground. And that I can do, but it kind of just, for what purpose? Because I'm not playing. There's nobody wanting to finish this shit with me except for Bob. And drums and vocals are really awesome, but Bob and I are probably the only ones that's going to think so.
So with that, how does that make walking then? Because walking surely is a bit of a battle as well.
Which is
with your condition. What's it like walking?
I don't work. I can't work.
No, walking. Walking. Walking as in walking up and down the street.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said working. It's not working. It's not working well. It's not working well walking. I walk slower than Ozzy. Well, let me put it this way: a drunk Aussie could outwalk me. I walk with a cane, not so much. I walk with a cane for balance, because at any given time I can try to. I mean, when you walk, you just say, hey, you don't even think about walking, you just do it, right? So when I try to walk next to you, we're having a conversation, and your body is just doing what it's, autonomously. It's just going on its own, because your brain said you're going to go from A to B. However, with me, if I don't focus on walking, I fall a lot, which is kind of embarrassing, but it is what it is, because I'll go to take a step and my foot might be normal, or it might not lift at all. So now the rest of my body is already in a forward motion, and my foot is still on the ground behind me, so to speak. And it can happen with either one of my feet, and it's happened a lot. I've fallen a lot. So if I leave my house, I have a cane for balance in case that happens, just so I don't completely make an ass of myself in public and fall down. So yeah, it's a hassle. It's painful, because obviously it's nerve damage, and the nerve damage is actually not in the legs themselves. It's in the low back, it's in the spine. So there's not much they can do for nerve damage. All they can do is they can pump you full of morphine to where you're so doped up you don't, and the pain is still there. You just don't give a shit.
Yeah. So is there's no, well, there's really nothing anyone can do for the condition you're in. Is there any chance that it will improve over time, or is it more likely to go the other way?
It's more likely that it'll deteriorate, because if it was going to improve, and that's the thing, this does happen after back surgeries. Not just mine, it's absolutely, they warned you have to sign at least here in America, before this, when you and the doctor agree, this is not, this we can only try to fix it by surgery. Nothing else is going to even have a shot at fixing your pain or your low back for a two-blown disc pushing into your spinal cord.
Yeah.
So you sign consent forms that you understand that it can go wrong in the sense of the two things that typically go wrong with this type of surgery is, one, you can suffer a tear to the spinal cord lining and start leaking spinal cord fluid because they're working, the doctors are working right up against your spinal cord.
Yeah.
And if you have a tear in your spinal cord, the pressure in your head with your spinal cord fluid, it changes in your brain, and it's the most excruciating pain. It literally feels like you have a lorry parked on your head.
Oh,
because
God.
the pressure, it's so, when your spinal cord lining is intact from your tailbone up to your brain, it's finely tuned fluid pressure. It's absolutely miraculously how precise it has to be, right? Well, all of a sudden it's like you get a flat on your car. All of a sudden your right front tire is flat, and except for the car doesn't hurt, but you do. So that's one thing that can go wrong, and the other thing is that you can suffer nerve damage.
Yeah.
And if you do, you might end up with drop foot. You literally in America have to sign consent forms. You understand that, and you're still going ahead with the surgery, knowing all this, and doctors will tell you it's 1 in a million. It happens.
It's definitely the same. It's definitely the same in the UK, because a friend of mine has just had a back operation, had to sign the form. Something went wrong. He's had to go back, and they've done another operation. It looks like it's worked. It's worked. He's like 8 weeks out from since surgery, and it's looking like this time. But the first operation fixed the problem, but caused another one.
And that's the thing.
Yeah, it's that knock-on effect.
It is, and it's like, one problem have disclaimers about 1,000 other problems that could be associated with fixing the first problem.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, people like, being that this, I'm in America, why don't you sue the doctor? It's like, why, what can I sue him for? Well, you can't walk anymore. Like, that's not his fault. If he was negligent, yes. If he did something that was so out of the norm, yes, you can sue for damage, but there was no negligence. He was completely heartbroken. And, with this just happened. It's hard to tell people, especially over here. It's hard. Dude, it just happened. It's something I got to live with. He's got to live with it.
Yes.
It's happened, and I'm not the first patient it's happened to, but it happens. It's a chance you take. You get to the point where you say, is the state I'm in now acceptable, or are you willing to do pretty much anything to try and make it better? And when you get to that point, you try to make it better. And in my case, I got not just one, I got both of the two things that could go wrong, went wrong. The third thing is I didn't die under anesthesia, which is the third thing that can go wrong. So I guess batting 2 out of 3, I'm still ahead of the game.
Yeah. Let's look on the bright side here. You're not dead.
No, not yet. I mean, there's other health problems that's trying to get me that way, but at least it was not my orthopedic doctor's fault.
Exactly. Well, look, Sid, I'm gonna start wrapping up, but I know I went on your Twitter and I noticed that you haven't been on Twitter since 2017. But I am going to be encouraging all of the listeners and everybody listening to this to start tweeting you and saying hi and spreading the word. So maybe log on to Twitter if you can remember the password, or and
To which one? Facebook?
Twitter.
Oh, Twitter? Oh, no, I don't do it. Yeah, somebody else told me that. Hey, are you on Twitter? No? Well, I found an account that has your name and picture or something. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I think I used to.
Yeah, you were. The last time you tweeted was May 2017.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll be honest. I pretty much turned my back on all. I have a Facebook page, obviously, and associated with a personal private Facebook page. I also have a, of course, we have the Infectious 13 page, but I've deleted everything else that's social media. I just had enough. It's just the rules for, like, especially Facebook over here in America are very different from what you all have to deal with, because it's over here. It's pretty much a free for all, whereas in Europe, there's strict regulations for how it works and all this and that. So to me, in America, it's nothing but it's a social experiment in mind control, so to speak. How can you convert a whole worldwide population into doing what you want them to do, and essentially? And I know that's a conspiracy type theory thing, but to me it's pretty obvious, and I'm just like, no, I can't deal with this shit.
Well, a friend of mine.
But yeah, I'll see if I can revive my. I'm sure if I try to log on there. Well, no, because I don't have my old email address I had in 2017.
There you go. You
so
see.
I can't, because normally if you lose your password, you can always click and they'll send you a temporary one. But they would send that to an email that don't exist anymore.
Oh man, yeah, that sucks. Well, look, a friend of mine, funny enough, what you're saying about Facebook, a friend of mine, a fellow stand-up comedian, has got a great bit, and he said, do you think if the government invented something that said, we want you to tell us where you are at all times, tell us how you're feeling, tell us who you're friends with, tell us what you're eating, and take pictures of what you're eating and where you are, and give us all of that information, there's no way we'd do it. Instead, we just volunteer it over Facebook.
It's exactly, and it's like, I don't know. I'm very open about my health, and I was on Facebook. I'm very, very honest about my health problems, anything from lung tumors to my back to my heart problems, my kidney issues and all this, that, and as you can tell, I'm like $1 billion man. I'm put together by fucking sheep parts. But and I was really honest, open. This is what's going. Anytime something new happened, I would post it and just say, hey, this is what's going on. Because I tried to keep it secret. The very first thing was that I had pneumonia I couldn't get over. They did some scans and they say, you need to go and see a pulmonary specialist because you got 2 tumors in your fucking right lung. I'm like, oh, well, that's probably not good. So I tried to keep that. I tried to really keep that on the low and not say anything. But obviously, even if it's just your immediate friends, close friends know about it, somebody says something, and all of a sudden you getting these rumor back that's about you, and you just had your lungs removed. You have no lungs. I'm like, what the fuck? I haven't even seen this. I haven't even seen the fucking specialist yet.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, I'll put it out there. This is what's wrong. If you hear something else, it's bullshit, because I don't want these rumors to start. There's no point. There's no drama. These are facts. It is what it is. I can't change the situation. So the least I can do is say, okay, this is what's wrong. If somebody tells you it's much worse or whatever, it's not. This is what it is. Okay, yeah. You're hearing it from me. I'm the fucking guy, it's happening to. But over time, I guess some people think, and you see it a lot on Facebook. So there's no reason you can exclude yourself, or I can exclude myself. It's just a lot of people post shit that's negative, hoping to get attention. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's I had a couple of people message me, and I was like, man, no, this is not it. I'm a typical fucking male. I will not go to the fucking doctor. But your right leg is laying on the ground. I don't care. I'll be okay. I will not go to the fucking doctor. Right? I mean, that's 90% of the men are like that. And that's what I've been all my life. And I've missed so many symptoms looking back. Knowing what I know now, I know how many times I should have gone when something was wrong, and I just said, fuck it. I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
So it was like, dude, if something's wrong, fucking go. Do your copay and find out if it's something real, because 99% of most health issues can be fixed if you fucking discover it early.
Well, I think that's
So,
I think
but
that's a
in
really
the end, I just
that's a really good positive message to take away from all of this, especially, for anybody listening. Which is that is great advice. Which is, look, if there's something, get it checked out.
I didn't do it. Yeah, I didn't do it. I mean, we have horrible fucking healthcare in America.
Yeah.
And I even saying that, I still had access to doctors because I was one of the lucky ones that, But even if you don't, if you think there's something wrong, you know your body. Don't fucking blow it off. The minute you start actually thinking, you've already blown it up for a week or two until you realize, no, wait a minute, this could be a problem because it's here every day.
Yeah.
Go fucking find out what it is, because if not, you might end up not having a choice about what can be done about it. There might not be done about it, but at the time you decide it's so bad somebody else fucking force you to go, you just get it fucking checked, because, again, 99% of diseases probably can be fixed if they're discovered early.
Yeah.
You get it. And that's really was my hope. And this is it. Some people misunderstood it, and I understand why. So, but I just said, no, stop. I'm not going to go back to be just really fucking private, because it's just me, my dogs, my house, a fucking mix room, and that's it.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Well, look, good luck with the project you're working on at the moment. Fingers crossed, we get to hear Infectious 13 in the end. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to email you a link to our new album, which is not out yet, but I'm going to email you a link and give it a listen. And because we're of the same era, so hopefully you'll appreciate that we're doing things right. Yeah, absolutely. This is what is it? Back to the Future? Yeah, kind of. It feels like that, man. After 29 years, but
yeah, but literally, I understand what you're saying, and I agree 100%, because we just thought different back. We're a generation that thought and heard music different, because we were there before it was even fucking a genre. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
When you and I started playing, there was nothing called thrash metal. There was fucking rock and hard rock. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, as well, is it's kind of become a sort of source of joking in the band. It's like, I'm so old. I can remember when there was just two genres instead of like the fucking hundreds there is now.
Yeah. What the fuck is shoe metal? What? What is?
There's naturecore, where bands sing about fucking trees and Mother Earth and shit.
I guess that's the new form of tree hugger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tree hugging metal.
Holy shit! You gotta just shake your head at all this shit, don't you? I mean, it's so sad. It's funny, but you kind of just It's like one of those, if the world had a fucking doorbell you would ring and it would stop so you could get off, you just want to do it because it's getting so fucking stupid. It's like, I'm changing bus, man. Stop this earth. I'm getting off.
Absolutely. Well, look, man, it's been an absolute pleasure, Sid. Thank you so much for your time.
Likewise.
Really enjoyed it, man.
Brother.
We'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, and I'll send me a link whenever you can, and once Outlaw Devils say I'm allowed to distribute or let other people hear their single, I'll shoot you, let you hear. As I said, it's not thrash metal or metal. It's just good old, hard rock.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Right, I'm gonna email it to you now.
All right, thanks, brother.
Cool, Sid. Take care, man.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
See what I mean? How cool is Sid? What a really, really lovely guy. I really enjoyed that, and as I said, he is back up and running on Twitter. So make sure you give him a follow. Sid Falck, SID FALCK. What a story he's got to tell. What a great guy, and you gotta hope that he gets those tunes out eventually. I really hope he does pull it off. That should be cool. Anyway, moving on. What else has been going on? Be careful if you go and see Iron Maiden. Yannick Gers might throw his guitar at you. the most hilarious member of Iron Maiden, throwing his guitar around. He swings it round, fucking lost hold of it, didn't he? And it went straight in the crowd. That has twatted somebody at a fair old rate of knots. A certain somebody who was on this podcast did say some things about him that were none too complimentary, but unfortunately they were edited out of the final interview at the interviewee's request. So if you ever bump into me, feel free to ask me who that was, and I shall tell you, because that's the way it fucking works, isn't it? Yeah, you ask me off the record, I tell you off the record. What else has been going on? Stained, remember them? Just played their first live show in 5 years, and you've got to wonder, haven't you? Does anyone give a shit? Stained, just like, I don't know, they're just one of those bands that have just sort of, I don't know, just don't seem to translate over here. Just, yeah, naff, basically. No, just no. Especially with old cunt-face singer being a bit of a fucking country-singing, redneck, Donald Trump supporting twat. That's quite a collection of naff personality traits, really, there, isn't it? David Lee Roth is doing a Vegas run. I mean, is there anything more obvious than that? David Lee Roth doing Vegas. It's just, I mean, it'll be a fucking car crash, I would imagine, but you know, there's something about seeing Diamond Dave at Vegas that I'd just love to go, even if it is the you know, suggested car crash that I think it's going to be. It'd still have a certain class to it. There's just, you know, Diamond Dave and Las Vegas, just the name, it's perfect, isn't it? And yeah, we're all getting old, aren't we? Graham Bonnet's undergoing spinal surgery. Biff from Saxon is recovering from a triple heart bypass. And yet there's nothing wrong with Rob Flynn of Machine Head. No, I mean, obviously, you know, I give my, you know, sending positive vibes to Graham Bonnet and Biff Byford. Because that's what happens, isn't it? You know, you get older. I mean, talk about getting older. I'm going to be 50 next year. Whoa, that's going to be interesting. It's not. It's just a number. Fuck it. And of course, poor old Richard Brunel, of former Morbid Angel guitarist. He dead at 55. This is like all of a sudden, it's like sort of obituary section of the Bollocks. I haven't done one of these before. It's a little bit worrying. But on brighter news, I had Phil Demmel on last month, and he said it was, you know, wasn't a project he was doing. It was just, you know, playing tunes with some buds. Well, it's going to be called Made in America, and it's Portnoy, Blitz, Phil Demmel, and you know, some things coming soon. That should be really interesting, actually, because that is a really, really kind of odd mixture. But moving on, going back to releases since the last podcast, we have Exorder. That's right. Mourn the Southern Skies has come out, and well, what do we all think? There's just something not grabbing me about it. And funnily enough, I was listening to what was it? The Different Times podcast. I was listening to that, and they used a phrase on there which was Pantera without the songs, without the tunes, if you will. And I kind of felt, you know, and it's horrible to be comparing them to Pantera and all the rest of it, but I don't know. I didn't get into Exorder the first time round. I've really tried second time, but I've failed again, I'm afraid. It's just not. It's not really doing anything for me. I've got to be honest. So, and with that mention of the Different Times podcast, it makes perfect sense to now go into a section, the second interview of the podcast, which is kind of me being interviewed by none other than Paul Podcast himself, or Paul Waller of band OHHMS, who has been a guest on the show. We played Uprising Fest together. and got to chat with Barney from Napalm, and he's going to come on the show at some point. We were going to do it a couple of days ago, but he wasn't able to. He's now on tour, so it'll be a little while yet. And I got to hang out in the dressing room after the show with Paul and talk about all sorts, really. And I wanted it to be us interviewing each other. It ends up him sort of interviewing more me, but we talk about music in general. I just think it's a cool chat. It's not so much of an interview with me, so I'm apologising for that because you get enough of me. It's all me now, and now there's going to be a fucking interview. But there's all sorts going on. There's people coming in and out. I think Paul and Mark of Acid Rain make an appearance. A lady makes an appearance who was refilling her Coke bottle with vodka. There's all sorts of bits and pieces going on. It's quite old school. It's a while since I've done one of these. There used to be a lot of these early, in the earlier podcasts where I was actually getting to meet people, and that just seems to be a while since I've kind of done it in a dressing room, in a venue. I think the last one would have been Blitz, actually. So here it is. Strangely enough, this is myself and Paul Waller, Paul Podcast of the Different Times podcast. This is basically going to be a bit of cross-pollination. They're going to use this interview as well. But it will be for a special. Don't worry. You are going to get all of the podcast love that you like from Different Times, which is a great podcast, by the way. Do subscribe to it. Do check it out. Here is myself and Paul in a dressing room in Leicester O2 after having both played Leicester Uprising. I'm actually recording, mate.
Oh, yeah?
I am, yeah.
Am I coming through loud and clear?
You sound like you're doing you sound like you're
One,
a
two,
pilot.
1, 2.
Yeah, you sound like you're a pilot.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be cruising at 20,000. I don't care what the fuck you do, mate. Fly the plane. I don't give a shit. We're going to be going over. Don't. That's all right.
My missus said that is what I should be doing as a late night DJ because I've got that voice. Here we go. Same time.
Mine's gone everywhere as well, bastard. Oh.
But I've got, that film The Fog. Like, I feel like I should be like that woman that does and it's rolling in. Be careful. Don't die. I've just got that voice.
I'm a The Mist man as opposed to The Fog.
Oh mate, The Mist. So much better.
Oh, what a film! What a film! That ending.
Are you film podcast?
Yeah, it's not really got started. It's just that I know one of the editors on Peaky Blinders, and it's finally out, and I wanted to get him, and he's just gone on to another project, and I want him to be, and it's not going to be a regular thing. They're just going to be like, odd ones here and there, but I do still want to do it.
Really hope you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many out there, but there's
But no one's going to slag things off like I do.
Exactly, that's it. There's no one that because everyone's so into it for the I could potentially get a sponsorship and things. And I know it's important. I know get to go on that you've got to get something.
Yeah.
But I just you always mention what's his fucking face that advertises condoms and shit. And in his podcast.
Oh, Jamie Jaster.
Yeah. I can't listen to it because of that.
He was Blue Chew if you want to get hard. I was like, Jamie, listen to yourself, mate. Listen to yourself. Maybe some sponsorships should be turned down, And I love the way he's going. He goes on and on about how he's trying not to eat meat and he's going vegan. He's trying to be really healthy, and then he goes on about how great Monster Energy drinks are. And it's like, mate, they fucking kill you.
Well, that's it. How important is his revenue? I found out there's this guy that does YouTube stuff called Anthony Fantando, and he's the internet's busiest music nerd. So he does stuff ranging from rap, hip hop, to punk and hardcore to noise, whatever. So he does a whole gambit of stuff, and he makes $700 a day, $700 a day on his channel. I can't even fathom.
Well, I'd say what I've got a very, very recent, very close experience about this. Right, one of my friend's kids, he's just left school. He's 18. Right, and he's making about $6,000 a month on YouTube, right? on YouTube, and but it's brilliant what they do. Basically, they know gamers, right, listen to not music because you can get too grooved out when they're gaming. So they listen. What they want is they want audio. They want people speaking, but not podcasts because podcasts are for old people, right? So what they do is they pick the top stories from Reddit, and his mate has got a kind of English, really nice English accent with slight Yorkshire twang, right? He reads the entire Reddit story. They just put some stock images, make a video, put it up, and they go fucking mad. They could just get like hundreds of thousands of views straight out the gate, and it's purely aimed at gamers who just want to listen to, and the story being because and also it's really popular in the States because of the English accent. And I just think maybe this world's not for me anymore.
No, it isn't. I've got a friend who's got an autistic kid, and he's well into the 20th Century Fox theme tune and ident before a film comes on.
Yeah.
So he uploads them. Of course, they're copyrighted to fuck, but he gets millions upon millions of views of these. I'm just going to put this one up, but I'm going to speed it up and put a pink filter on it. Millions of views, each one, millions. And he's had several cease and desist sort of things.
Yeah.
But it's not active to take money or whatever. So he just takes down what he takes down, puts out. His channel is just full of these things. But autistic kid just loves it, and that's his thing. Like, what are people doing? Like, I remember, like, you would buy a record and cherish the record and maybe listen to that 50 times. Millions of plays of their ident of 20th Century Fox.
The biggest thing for me, the way to describe like how the change to old men discuss changes in the word. The biggest thing for me is miming in your bedroom, singing into a hairbrush to your favourite song.
Yep.
Like, absolutely mortified if like your sister walks in or your parents catch you. Right? Oh no, film it, put it on fucking YouTube. Right? I mean, when did that happen? When did that happen?
Happens a lot. The best one that I've seen is the...
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jeanette.
Hello.
It smells like... There's this fella that is well buffed, looks like the...
Am I ruining your interview?
Have you got...
This is an order for Cookie as well as me.
Oh, right, okay. Where are they? Oh, they're over there.
Am I ruining your interview?
No, not at all.
Hi, I'm Paul of Acid Rain fame.
Already it's twice as good as what it is. Oh, what? Vodka comes out.
Look at that.
Unbelievable.
Travelling in style. Go,
girl. Someone's hidden it.
You go, girl.
So I found it.
By the way, listeners, just to let you know, there's a massive bottle of vodka just appeared in the dressing room. If this interview goes rapidly downhill, you'll find out why. Oh, this is quality. She's now pouring. Sorry, the person in the dressing room who won't be named is now pouring vodka into a water bottle, right? And is now going to top it up with tonic. And
no, only tonic. Diva Tree tonic.
Don't worry, I'll put an effect on your voice and everybody knows who you are.
Fever Tree tonic.
Fever Tree tonic. Fever Tree. Don't try any other tonic. Do you remember the day? Funnily enough, this is exactly what we were just talking about, right? You could go into a pub and say, "Have a gin and tonic, please," and the barman would fuck off and come back with a gin and tonic. Now, 20 questions. What kind of tonic do you want? A fucking tonic, dickhead. What kind of gin do you want? What? Do you want red gin? Do you want blue gin? Do you want blueberry gin? Do you want rhubarb gin? Do you want the gin that's out the back? Do you want the gin that's...
Cold gin.
Oh, you've done it. And
you
fuck off.
open bottles?
I can't, I'm afraid. It's not one of my services. It's not one of my services as a podcast host. I genuinely don't think I can.
Lighter? You don't do that trick with the lighter?
Do you know what? Friends of mine do, and I'm envious of them. And every time I say, "Show me how you do that," they go, "It's easy. You just do that." And I go, "You've not really shown me how to do that. You've just said it's easy, and then not shown me how to do it."
You once with the vodka before I put it down.
Could I have a little bit of vodka?
Do you want it in the tonic?
No. Oh yeah, the tonic bottle.
Yeah, we have to find a way of opening it.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, I see.
See, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Normally we're selling bottles.
I was going to do vodka. I was going to do vodka Coke myself, but then.
Oh, have you got Coke?
No, I'm looking round. Oh, hang on.
Oh, there's Coke.
Oh, hello.
There's Coke. Look.
Oh,
hello.
Coke.
Alternatively, dare you?
Oh, I don't like that.
It's Red Bull, folks. It's Red Bull. Yeah, I'll have some vodka Coke if there's any going. Or was that just if I opened your
No, it's fine.
your tonic bottle?
You can do vodka Coke.
That's fair enough. This is a weird podcast.
This is good. This is what they want to hear.
This is what goes on in the dressing room.
I'm gonna.
By the way, who are you?
I'm Jeanette.
Hello, Jeanette.
I'm girlfriend of Frank from Memoriam.
Oh, well, I've known Frank for 30 years.
Ah.
I remember him in Sacrilege.
Right.
Yeah, back in the day, played together.
Oh, yes.
We were on the same label. Yeah.
Oh, you played with him in Sacrilege?
No, I didn't play with him.
Not on the same label?
But we were on the same label.
That was a very long time ago.
It was a very long time ago.
You've aged well then.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you. Do you know what the secret? No wife, no kids.
No, that's what it is.
Yeah.
No stress.
Or, brackets, being selfish.
Looking at number one.
Wow, my vodka Coke is being put together expertly here. That'll do. That's fine. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was a treble as well.
Was it really?
Yeah, pretty much.
You might have to drink this with me.
So I'm going to ask you some questions, if I may.
Well, yes, but before I want to ask you.
Right, okay.
I want to ask you, how was your show? Because I missed it. I apologise. I was showering.
What?
Yeah,
I was showering. What happens when you're in acid rain? You get a shower.
But I was showering and being told that apparently I got a red card on stage. I had a yellow card and a red card. I'd say the system's broken if I find out about it 10 minutes after I get off stage. You know what I mean? I
watched you run around, and I thought, you said goodbye to the audience, right? That's my cue. I can leave. So I was side stage wanker watching you, and I thought, right, I'm going to leave. Great. I can get back, do my sound check, and just go straight on. And then all of a sudden, like, they're going, oh, did you see what H did? Did you see what H did? Yeah, I was just fucking there. What? Fucking hell. Stop it.
Well, look, answer my question first. How was your show?
It was good. I talked about you on stage. And I had, they said, like, we've got a 2-minute break while we do some tuning shit. Is that alright? I was like, yeah. And I just was talking about listening to Moshkenstein in my bedroom. And
that's awesome.
How you shoved the microphone in my mouth when you were on stage.
For Goddess, and you just did not know what to do.
So instead
you just
of saying
growled.
Goddess, I was so happy, and I went bottom. Instead of Goddess, I said bottom. That was my one fucking moment.
I'm sure there'll be another.
I went bottom. That wasn't fucking words at all.
Yes, but I feel like I know you way better than I should, and I know that even if you'd said Goddess, you'd have found some way of pronouncing it that would have not made any sense anyway.
I had to hold every part of me back not to jump on the stage and just jump around with you. So as soon as you were doing the fucking moshing dance, mate, that was it. I was just like, I felt like it was like a dream come true.
Oh, stop!
I am not kidding you, mate. I've not seen it before, and it was just like.
Oh, you've never seen House of Rain
back
before?
in the day, not in the reunion shows.
Wow!
And it's just like my first time, and knowing that we were on before you, we had to sound check in the middle of it. So horrible. Like they did. I said, yeah, is it good? Thumbs up, and I just ran and got side stage.
Oh, thank you, man.
So yeah, it was.
Oh, that's awesome.
Brilliant. So that's what I told the crowd about, and then we just played music. That's it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was alright. It was good. Nice, busy crowd, which is all you could want for.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the one.
I had a great time. Yeah, I didn't expect to have such a good time, and like walking around and having Barney just like saying "excuse me" as he goes past and stuff.
I know.
It's a weird little.
Well, like I said, I mean, I spent about 15-20 minutes. I was like, Barney. He was like, yeah. I said, I can't believe we've never met before. Howard from Massive Rain. And he was like, oh, hello, all right. I said, yeah, we've got some friends in common, haven't we? And he goes, yeah. I said,
you must have played with Napalm Death.
No. Big Divide back in the day.
Really?
Yeah.
It was all the same to us.
well, maybe, but no. So and I was like, we've got friends in common, and I was like, Stilly, who's a mate of mine, Kev used to be in Acid Rain. Stilly is Kev's younger brother, and he was around my house a couple of weeks ago. He lives in Germany, works for like Stereophonics, Billy Talent, all these. And whenever he's over, he says hi. And he goes, oh, say hello to Barney for me. I was like, yeah, I will. So I did, and Barney was like, yeah, Stilly, I haven't seen him for years. We ended up having like just this 20-minute chat, like all ranging. He started talking about playing in the States with Slayer on their final tour. And I was
Jesus.
like, yeah, I know. I was just like, wow. This is really happening. And so I said to him, look, I mentioned that I got a podcast. I said, could I get you on? He goes, yeah, no problem. And I said, when's good for you? And he goes, well, the problem is I've got back-to-back tours. I was like, right, okay. And he goes, yeah, I'm only home for one day. We get back from Russia, and then I'm off to the States. I'm only home for one day. And I was like, all right, never mind. He goes, no. How about that day? And I just thought, how class is that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. They're a special band. It's like a special one-off. They don't make them.
This is how special they are. I saw them in the Nottingham garage with Holy Terror and DRI, and I met John Peel in the crowd. And I met John Peel. What a lovely bloke. I was wearing a Descendants shirt. Showed him a shirt. I said, "That's thanks to you." And he was like, "Oh, what a great band." We're having a chat. This kid comes up and goes, "Can I borrow 50p for some chips?" And John Peel just looked at him and goes, "Here's a quid. Fuck off." And he was just such a lovely guy, such a cool guy. It was awesome. But anyway,
No. All day.
I'm jabbering.
All fucking day. There was, I'll put this into perspective, right? I was with a mate, and I said when I appeared on your podcast, like we bought a selection of records, yours amongst it, Voivod amongst it,
awesome.
And we would just like play them day in, day out, and we'd have like mega metal Kerrang, and we'd read all about you, and it was just something that you would never ever picture, like that I'm here sitting with you, sort of thing. Like
Stop it.
No, it's honestly, it's like my Bon Jovi moment.
Oh fuck off.
But I saw him the other day.
But what you don't get is that when I came and gave you a hug when I saw you at Barrier, I was just as pleased to see you as you were to see me, I'm sure.
But that is exactly it, man. There's no barrier, and that's what it was with like the tape trading thing back in that day. Like so many bands.
I traded the Alice in Hell demo with Jeff Waters in the original demo that he recorded in his he recorded the vocals in his bedroom cupboard.
What did you give him for that?
Hey?
Is this an interview?
Yeah, this is Paul from OHHMS, Mark from Acid Rain.
I'm not an important interview. Aye.
Is that all the beer gone?
Cookie took some.
Oh, he's probably took the fucking cans of it.
No, there's that. No, that's kind of.
That's it. Fucking all the beer's gone.
That's it. Yeah, the beer's gone. The fun's gone. That's the end of it.
The vodka came out. It's gone.
Yeah. True story. True story.
So you receive like what Alice in Hell demos?
So I traded the Alice in Hell, the original Alice in Hell demo, where Jeff Waters does everything. Recorded the vocals in his bedroom, in a cupboard, and I sent him the Moshkinstein demo. And then the weirdest of all, I got, before it was released, before anyone knew anything about it, I got a vinyl through the post. And I was like, what the fuck's this? I opened it up, and it's the first MOD album, MOD for USA. And there's a note in there from Metal Maria Ferrero at Megaforce. She still works there. And there was a note in there saying, Hi Howard, this is from Scott from Anthrax. He'd like to trade this for a copy of your Moshkinstein demo. And I was... I'll tell you what I did. I sent the demo straight off, and then I just went to school holding it like I went to school holding the vinyl like it was the World Cup, just walking around like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, fucking check this shit out.
Unbelievable.
Couldn't believe it.
So what year are we talking about there?
Well, the demo was only just out, so that would have been 87. because with the album, you know, we put Moshkinstein, the mini album, out in '88.
So you, at the same time, right? So this is what I know about your career. There's two. Fuck this interview. I'm asking you two questions, right? I want it elaborated because you've always skirted round, and maybe you can't talk about it. Maybe you'll have to actually do a
I will with you, darling,
on the podcast for once.
No chance.
Ranting.
Too fucking lazy.
So, right, you turned down Noise, right?
Yeah.
Noise was, for me as a kid, not knowing any of the politics or anything like that, Noise was the number one thing for me. Like, I had a poster on my wall with the Noise logo.
Right, okay.
Simple as that. It was just like, Noise is it.
What year would it have been?
It would have been 87.
Right, okay. Well, long story short, and I mean, you know, it's if I have skirted over it, not for any reason. And funnily enough, I've been trying to get Carl Utterback on the podcast. We traded emails, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll come on." Just after I had David Gielkion, who wrote the history of Noise.
Yeah.
And
that is a hard book to get through. I love it, and I've got it, and it's a tome that I just cherish. But it was a hard read.
Yeah, I've picked and chosen chapters. To be honest. It's like, oh, do I want to read like 50 pages on Running Wild? I don't want to read half a page on Running Wild. But you know, the creators of pirate metal, yeah, fuck off.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, that would be why I don't want to read it. You know, arr. But so I got a phone call at home, you know, living at home at my parents' house. I got this phone call, and it's like, "Hi, you know, it's Carl from Noise," and I'm like, you know, racist accent. "Hi, it's Carl from Noise. We would like to sign you." He's like, you know, we'd like
on the telephone. You pick it up. You didn't know what it was going to be. Yeah. No warning.
Yeah,
brilliant.
just happened to pick it up.
Absolutely brilliant.
I can't remember if I answered the phone or my mum answered the phone. I think it was me, and he was like, "Yeah, Carl from Noise Records." "Oh, hello, Carl." Yeah, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, you know, really like your demo. I'd like to sign the band." I was like, "Yeah, we were about 3 months down the line with Music for Nations at that point."
Okay.
And not only that, but the weird thing is, this is weird. Even as a 17-year-old, I knew Noise were fucking bands over. I don't know how I knew, but I knew. And also, you might have had a poster Noise logo and all the rest of it. We're about to sign to Music for Nations. Literally, we walk in the front door. Metallica leave out the back door after Master of Puppets. We're about to sign to the label that has Metallica, Death. You know, I mean, those two bands alone. You're like, and Death weren't even Death at that point. You know, we had no idea what was on the fucking horizon. But they had everybody. MFN had everybody. You know, we were label mates. I mean, look at the people we toured with. We were label mates with all these bands.
Yeah.
You know, Exodus, Nuclear Assault, Dark Angel, Candlemass, played with them all. You know, toured with them all. And because we were all on the same label.
Were you umming and ahhing about it? Did you take it really seriously, or did you say there and then on the phone?
What, MFN?
No, with Noise.
Oh, Noise?
Yeah.
I said we're 3 months down the road with Music for Nations. But also, to be honest, there was my other feeling, again, as a cocky 17-year-old, my other feeling was like, well, where the fuck have you been? You know, you need to sort your admin out, mate. It's like, Music for Nations rang us 3 months ago and said we want to sign you, and acted on it straight away. You know, we'd met with them. Contracts were already exchanged. Our solicitor was already working on it.
You want someone passionate, like, and believes in you.
Yeah.
Like, that's
so somebody comes along 3 months after one of the biggest labels in thrash wants to sign you. I mean, I let him down gently. You know, I let him down gently, and he was like, and he was really cool about it. He was just like, "Oh, okay, never mind. You know, well, you know, I'm doing it." Do you
ever think about what if?
Well, what if we tried to
what if you done
fuck
it?
off?
Well, like, how much fucking money did you make off Music for Nations, though? You know.
To be honest, fair point. To be honest, I think I don't think it'd have been any different, except knowing how Noise was structuring deals back then. We you know, it's never about money, is it? But I mean, we probably made more money, you know, on MFN than we would have done on Noise, because just like I said, you know, the way they structured contracts, and it was basically it was all the band's risk and it was all the label's reward, you know.
And I guess you wouldn't swap any of those tours that you did, any of that stuff. Like I remember like reading like a shit review of one of your records.
Oh, yeah, plenty of them, yeah.
And I fucking loved it. I just cut it out and I put it in my little thrash scrapbook, and I was like, fucking English thrash. And I was like so excited, like there's another.
What? And it was a bad review.
Yeah, but I didn't fucking care. Like, who cares? Like there's a thrash band. I would scour like Kerrang and like as I say, like when a Metal Forces, which would rarely come into my newsagents, was there, it was just heaven.
And for me as well, I mean, being in those magazines, I mean, it's like just being in those magazines was just like, you know, this is just fucking awesome. You know, I mean, it's like, well, I went to Christmas on Earth in Leeds, Queen's Hall, which was, you know, Megadeth were headlining, there was Laz Rocket on, there was Voivod, who weren't able to make it, there was Nuclear Assault, Virus opened, there was loads of bands played basically, right? And this was Christmas on Earth, right? And it was December Christmas. It was December.
I want to see what they did.
1987. Yeah, it's a good idea. This was December 1987. October 1988, we're on tour with Nuclear Assault. So,
yeah.
like, you know, 10 months. 10 months after being a fan watching Nuclear Assault, we're on the road with them.
Well, I say it's clear from your podcast, like listening to it, how much of a fan you were and how you were just dropped in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I guess I don't know if I would have been able at that point to take it all in. Like, do you know what I mean? Because you're playing with not just bands that are well good in retrospect. Like, you're already a fan of these bands, and like now you're on tour with them. You're opening up for Nuclear Assault or whatever, playing with DRI. Fucking, next to me on the bus is Dan Lilclass.
But yeah, but the weird thing is, right, is that like you get to the first gig, right? Camden Electric Ballroom. You get to the first gig. You meet the guys. You're like, oh hi, right. Jem Fat Bastard Howard, as is credited as Metallica's tour manager on Ride the Lightning, right? So Jem Fat Bastard, who's no longer a fat bastard. So Jem, no longer a fat bastard, Howard is our tour manager. He works for the label. Paul Loseby is Nuclear Assault's manager, and he's looking after it. But so we've literally got this, like, Jem we've known since we signed to the label. He was the guy that rang me and said, we want to sign you. He's like a father figure to us, looking after us, introducing us to the band. They're lovely guys. Straight away, we meet. So we go out on stage. Reanimator open, who are our mates, who we've got signed to Music for Nations as well. The irony being, we got Reanimator's demo off them and gave it to Music for Nations and got them signed. Third on the bill, opening that night, first ever gig, Paradise Lost, right? Who end up signing to Music for Nations fucking centuries later. But anyway, so we Reanimator go and play, we go and play, and we come off, and like, you know, Nuclear Assault are only a little bit older than us. I mean, at that age...
No, you're a kid at this point.
Yeah, but okay, so I'm 18, and they're maybe, 2021? Later on in life, that age difference is small, but at that age, it's a little bit bigger.
Okay.
But, and we come off and they're like, oh man, you know, Dan Looker comes straight up and he's like, man, that was fucking awesome. That was fucking awesome. Fast forward to 2015, we get invited to play Eindhoven Metal Meeting. So we go over to Eindhoven, we play Eindhoven Metal Meeting, right? We play it, do the gig. We're out back, like packing up, just like you were packing up when I bumped into you earlier, right? We're packing up, I just hear this, Howard! I turn around and fucking Dan Lilker stood over the other side of the room. He's going, get the fuck over here! I'm like, straight over, give him a big hug. I was like, oh mate, I was like, that's so good to see you. He was like, it's good to see you as well, man. It's like, how you doing? Alright. It's like, did you see the show? He was like, no. I was like, cool. It was just so good to see him.
Okay.
But yeah, so we do that nuclear assault thing, and like Dan's coming over, and that's great, and John, who's like an oddball, total oddball, Glenn's cool, Anthony's cool. I mean, fuck me, we toured so many times with those guys. The first time I ever got stoned was probably with nuclear assault. We had to go and do a radio interview together. It was me, Anthony from nuclear assault, Anthony Bramante, Glenn Evans, and me. And it was just the three of us, and we got driven out there, and we were absolutely off our boxes, stoned, total red-eyed, laughing at everything, and we had to go and do these radio interviews, and we just sat there and just giggled through them like it was just untrue.
I've got another question, but I'll come to that in a minute. Did you have a manager, or were you the manager of Acid Rain at the time?
I was the manager. I got us signed. I got the finance for the demo. Came up with the idea of Moshkenstein. I split the budget between 50-50, half spent on recording, half spent on packaging, to make it look like we were already signed. Because it was like, to me, it was just blindingly obvious that you don't post a fucking C90 to a record label. Why would you do that? And it turns out, full circle, I did an interview for a documentary with Jem, which is probably never going to be seen, but he said we were the only band that they ever signed from an unsolicited demo tape, and I still think that's. But to me, as a 17-year-old kid, to me it was just blindingly obvious that you had to. How can you stand out from all of these cassettes, like just thudding through the door every day? It's like, well, easy. You make it look like you've already got a fucking deal.
So, right. I'll do a partridge here. Can I shock you? I fucking did exactly the same to get signed to Holy Raw.
Really? Oh, right. You didn't just go and get a job there and decide to sign your own band.
No. Weirdly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I am a big fan of the label, and instead of just sending them a demo like everyone fucking does, or an MP3 or a link, I just wrote pen to paper a letter of how much I love the label, what was my first buy on the label, like what this band meant to me, etc., and sent it. And then a few days later, I got the call. Like,
awesome.
It's not rocket science, though, is it?
But also, I think straight away, if you're working at a label and you get that letter and you get that demo, everyone in the label goes, if we sign these guys, they'll work their absolute nuts off. That passion, you can't put a price on it, because they're all going to be doing their job, and if the band don't do theirs, they may as well all go home. They may as well all do nothing, as opposed to put any effort into your release. And getting that, I can just imagine, that getting passed around the office, going like, wow, check this out, look at this, what, and then they put the tape on, expect it to be shit, and then they put it on, they go, oh wow, what a relief, it's actually really good as well.
Yeah, pretty much he said the same thing. It was like, oh phew.
Right, hang on, let's you've got another question. Due to the miracle of technology, I have gone and had a heroic after-gig piss.
What I'm interested in is knowing what you leave in your podcasts. Why did you not take it into the toilet as you just went to the loo?
Right, yeah. Funnily enough, I recently had to take a little chunk out of a podcast, which I'll talk to you about. But I have made the full uncensored interview available for Patreon subscribers.
You have to get it in.
But
you freak people out when you say, oh yeah, this has been recording already, and they're like, you instantly make them not unease. They're like, oh god, I'm fucking tense now, what have I just said, what have I done?
Yeah, but the whole idea is it's just a telephone conversation. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit of a chat. And the one I'm going to tell you about, that can't talk about, that was I was like, yo, and we just started talking. I've never met the guy, and we just started talking, and the thing is, he got so relaxed while we were talking that he said a few things that he emailed me back a couple of days later. I think, yeah, you probably need to take that. But that's the advantage of that being an inverted commas artist. I remember when I interviewed Mina from Life of Agony, and the first thing, you know, I did my, you know, I'm, you know, have a thrash band, stand-up comedy, blah blah blah, and the first thing she said was, well, first of all, it's nice to know I'm talking to an artist. Thank you for that.
Okay.
And straight away, I think certain barriers go down where people just go like, okay, yeah, I can talk to somebody who they know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're not going to be fishing for clickbait and you know, and you can just let them rumble, and especially if you can empathise as well, it just makes it all a lot, you know.
That's the key word, isn't it? Like empathy. If you don't have it, interviews are shit. Like,
yeah.
From the off, and you can tell, like, just like if you're doing like the circuit like we do, and like you're doing the festivals during the summer, and you do all these interviews. Some have just got it, and some haven't. It's just like a band. Some bands have got it, and some bands haven't got it.
I had that today.
Yeah.
But to be fair, we then found out from the guy that it was his first ever. It was his first ever, like, you know, live interview, and it was like, wow. In that case, dude, you know,
sweet.
He did well. But yeah, no. As long as you empathise with people. I mean, I interviewed OTEP a couple of years ago for about like an hour and she was, and I was like, by the end of it, we were just like cracking jokes and just having fun. And then when she played over here last year, I went over. And she just came walking over and she was like, here he is! She said, how's it going, man? She gave me a big hug. And we sat down and had a chat for 45 minutes. And when I switched it off, PR guy came over and he goes, what are you like to her? And she looked at me and she goes, oh yeah, this was supposed to be 15 minutes, but I love talking to you. I was like, that's so cool.
Another question, not the one I want to ask.
Right.
You've interviewed a lot of people,
yes.
Right? Podcast, like the best thing when you discover a podcast, and I've only just recently become a bit of a podcast nerd, is you find something you like. Right, for me, your interviews, like, are interviews. The rants, mate, that is where I'm at, right? So I will go back, and I know your headspace, like, from a certain time, right? And don't you love just discovering a podcast and then going back discovering all those old episodes?
Yes.
And then even if you're interviewing a band I hate or something, I'll skip to it. Oh no, I've missed that. Right, so I'll get back. Right, here's a new rant coming. It's fucking great. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I often think sometimes it's like, I know there are people who like rants out there, but I also think that, like, you know, there are people who will just skip by them and just do
go straight to the interview.
Which is absolutely fine as long as they're listening and getting something out of it. I'm not bothered. Have you heard the Channel Zero one yet? When I interviewed the singer from Channel Zero.
No.
The Belgian Metallica.
I've never heard of Channel Zero.
Right, they're a Belgian band. Right now, I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil the interview for you, right? Or maybe I should. In fact, I will because basically people hearing this on different times might go and search it out. So, in 1988, we played Ghent in Belgium, and I met a guy called Toons Herman, or Tony Hermans. We just hit it off, really good friends. I gave him my address. We started writing. We played there a year later. He came and it was like, it was really good to see him. And he gave me a shirt, and we've been pen friends and all the rest of it. And Channel Zero. Oh God, no! It wasn't Channel Zero. It was a band called 69, and a couple of their members went.
What just happened there? It's a different band now.
No, bear with me.
Okay.
So a couple of members of 69 who were on before us went on to form Channel Zero. And Tony sent me Channel Zero's first demo, which I really liked, and he was like, and then I think it was about 1990. It was 1990. I got a letter from him. I opened it up, and he said, "Hi Howard, I hope you're well. I have some bad news. By the time you read this, I will be dead."
Shit.
Yeah, and he hung himself.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah, and in that letter, it said, "I really hope I hope you like the Channel Zero demo I sent you. I really hope that you and Danny can do something together one day. I think you guys would work well together. And 25 years later, I interviewed Danny from Channel Zero, and I said to you, we've got a mutual friend, Tony Hermans. I said, Toons Hermans, and his face just dropped. He was like, you knew Toons? I said, yeah. I said, I got a letter, and he said he only did 10 of those letters. I was like, oh my God. He said, I found him hanging.
Oh shit!
I was like, fuck. And it will always be my most favourite interview I've ever done, because I had so many questions, because I just got a letter from my Belgian pen friend to say, by the time you read this, I'll be dead. And
did you believe it at the time?
Absolutely, because it was also contained within the letter was a programme from his funeral, and it was absolutely mind mashing, you know. And it took 25 years to get some answers to some questions that I had, and you know, there I am chatting to, you know, the singer of Channel Zero about it, and who are the Belgian Metallica. We became friends on Facebook, and I know some people in Belgium, and straight away I was like 3 or 4 messages from friends in Belgium saying, "Geez, you're friends with him? What the hell? What's going on? How?" And I was like, I can't. It's a long story.
Yeah.
But that's the favourite interview that I've ever done, because it was deeply personal to us both. And it started out as audio only, and then it quickly became video, and he took me around his house and showed me like some art that Toons had done for him, and it basically just completely stopped being about music or his band or anything. It was just the two of us talking.
Yeah, that's it. That's beyond interview then, isn't it? Instantly
it was therapy. It was therapy for me, to be honest. Because like I said, I didn't know what the fuck was going on, and here I was talking to Danny, who'd been to his funeral, and you know, was with the person who found him, and
Jesus.
Yeah.
So that is with you forevermore.
Yeah, and it's online forever as well. So go check it out, folks.
Yeah. What is that, an oldie?
Yeah, that's quite early. It was quite early doors.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sort of...
No, that's good. Like I've interviewed a couple of people that have died since I've interviewed them, and
that's weird.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it to you.
Fucking short.
Oh no!
Fucking hell.
That's a good look, though.
Are you done?
It can be. Why? Are you ready to rock?
We're nearly half an hour late for leaving. Rich and Cookie want to get back, don't they?
Oh right, well no, I'm
yeah, man, they're waiting for me as well. Another time.
Well, ask your last question.
Right, last question.
Yes.
I want to talk about dead people, but next time.
Next time.
Okay, so Obnoxious.
Yes.
Right. I know you had an alternate cover ready to go.
Yes. Drawn by Stilly.
Yeah, understood. And like my very first interview with you that you can't remember, many years ago.
Yes, all right.
Yeah, so I talked to you about that, but what I didn't get to is what was the mindset? We're going to put this out. Was that purely you again? Was that
what the pink cover?
What ended up being the pink cover, the luminous pink?
It was Ramsey's idea. He denies that to this day, but it was his idea.
Right.
And he just said, look, if we put cyan on pink, it'll just fuck with people's eyes. Those two colours just make your eyes go funny.
It does.
And it's really obnoxious. So why don't we just do that? Because they turn, and we're, yeah, all right. So we told the label, and then they took it and ran with it.
So no beef from the label at all? You didn't have any problems? You just said,
That's their design. That's their design. They did that and gave it to us and said, is this okay? And we went, rightly or wrongly, yes.
And from what I can gather from what you've said previously, you're quite proud of that award that it won.
Terrorizer 2009 worst metal album cover ever.
That's good, that.
Final question.
Yes.
Do you ever regret it?
Not for a minute.
Not for a minute.
No regrets. I'd rather regret. You know the old saying. You know, I'd rather regret. I'd rather regret stuff I've done than stuff I haven't done.
The Butthole Surfers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But no, not at all. Not at all. But what's really funny is seeing modern reviews, like as recently as like a couple of years ago, people doing like, you know, going back and going like, oh, you know, got this album, this cover's terrible. And literally, what I did learn was that human beings are pretty much fucking stupid, because people just look, you saw that album cover and were just like, oh, this must be shit then. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it literally... And journalists at the time are guilty of that as well, which is just hilarious. It's just like, well, you do realise that the cover doesn't affect the music inside, don't you? You know. It
wasn't a pre-planned thing. It was after the record was done, or was this before?
Yeah. No. It was after the record was done. We thought we had a cover. We submitted it. They said no, which we ended up making a T-shirt of it.
They said to you, we're not having that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
we're going to go with this thing.
Yeah, the weird thing is, if you've seen the artwork they turned down, it's considerably better than what they designed. Bizarre, utterly bizarre. I don't know why they did that.
That's all I need to know, man.
That's all
I can go home now for my 4-hour journey. I'm quite happy.
Oh man, 4 hours serves you right.
Yeah, man. That's it. They've been waiting for God knows how long.
And my band's waiting for me. Sorry, the band is waiting for me. Dude, absolutely.
There we
pleasure,
go.
man. Thank you. We've crossed the streams and it worked. Hey?
I'm fucking happy.
As you can tell, Paul and I get on rather well. That was great fun. Both kind of coming down from our various sets. He's such a funny guy, such a great guy to talk to. I could talk to him all day, I really could. And I really want to meet Dan as well, who's his I was going to say sidekick, but partner on the Different Times podcast. Because I probably end up... It's weird, I when they're talking about music, I find myself really agreeing with one of them on nearly every band, but it's never the same one. But yeah, check out the Different Times podcast, and check out Talking Bollocks, and check out Patreon. Why not become a patron of the podcast? Because that way you can have your very, very own podcast. That's right, a Bollocast, all of your own. Can you believe that shit? No, didn't think you could. Well, it's amazing, isn't it? So, yes, all you need to do is go to patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. Sign up for $5 a month. I think it's nearly $6 a month, including tax. It's less than £5, and you get a shed load of content every month. You get your own Bollocast. You get to ask questions of artists. You get to send me your questions and I'll ask them, and I'll put it all in a special Bollocast just for you, in your ears. This is my sexy voice. Wherever you are listening to this, walking along, driving along, just know that you are one sexy beast. People are looking at you right now and thinking, wow, check him, her, it, whatever you identify as. Check that out. They are really, really sexy. Do you feel good now? Do you? Would you like Howard to give you a little kiss? Oh dear. This is the unique way to bring the podcast to a close. Fucking hell, that was beginning to freak me out, so apologies for that. I would imagine that's properly freaked you out. So yes, it is the end of the podcast. It's the end of the podcast as we know it. It's the end of the episode for this month, but there's one coming next month, so don't despair. Listen to this without a care. Howard H. Smith has made you a podcast. Whatever you do, make sure you listen. Whatever you do, make sure you sign up at Patreon. Whatever you do, miss this bit out because it's a bit shit. Thanks a lot for listening. Really do appreciate it. Thanks for all your support. Please do share and tell people about the podcast as much as possible. That way I get to do even more exciting shit than I'm doing at present. Okay, thank you very much, guys. It's been awesome. Speak to you next month. Goodbye.